So I wanted to talk about social anxiety versus like the difference between social anxiety and shy. You know, I think a lot of people, especially when you're young, I was shy when I was young. When you first go into like elementary school, when I went to elementary school, I was shy. I didn't really want to talk to the teachers. I mean, I'll talk to other kids, things like that. But when it comes to like adults, I didn't know. I wouldn't really talk to them. I had to get to know them. Some kids are different. Um, for me personally, I didn't have social anxiety. When I started having my panic disorder, when I started having social anxiety, that's when I didn't leave the house. You know, I used to talk to a lot of people after I got used to, as I got older, like, when I went to like kindergarten, first grade, actually, when I went to first grade, and cause I don't think I went to preschool, but when I went to kindergarten was hard, that's my first year of school. But once I went to first grade, second grade, that's when the shyness slowly went away. So the difference between social anxiety and shy, when you're shy, you still can go out. You can still talk on the phone. You can talk to like your friends, your family, teachers and stuff. But when it comes to talking to like people you don't know, like strangers, I'm not talking about like complete strangers. Strangers like people like wanted to come up to you and try to like kidnap you or whatever like that. I'm talking about like the new neighbor that moves in, they're trying to talk to you and then you get like, oh, you don't want to talk to them. That's like kind of shyness. With social anxiety is you don't want to go out at all. You don't want to even go out with your friends. Sometimes you try to avoid talking to your friends. If you do have friends, you probably have like, a couple of friends, and they have to be real close friends. They have to like understand your anxiety, stuff like that. That's the difference between shy. The other difference between shyness and social anxiety is you can't have a panic attack when you're shy. When you're shy, sometimes you're like you go to school for so long, you're with the same friends, you're the same classroom, the same teacher. When you stand up in front of like all your classmates and you have to like do a project and talk in front of the class, it might take some kids longer to get used to it. It took me a little while to stand up to the class and talk to my classmate about like a group project. Um, reading out loud, stuff like that, and then having people look at you. When you're shy and you know everybody that in the class, then it helps. But when you have social anxiety and when the teacher looks at you, like, eyeballing you, like, I'm gonna pick somebody to read something out loud, and the teacher looks right at you, and you have a social anxiety, and the person next to you is shy, but everybody in the class knows each other. That person that is shy might just raise their hand, but you with social anxiety, doesn't matter how long you've been in that class, doesn't matter how long you knew these classmates, you might have a panic attack just getting up in front of people. Opening the door because the mailman delivery something like someone deliver a package. You might not even want to open the door. You might say, "Oh, I have to talk to that person." Things like that. Um, as for myself, yes, I did had a little social anxiety. When I started having my panic disorder, it didn't kick in until I think um, sometime in June, sometime in like early second week of June 2016. The more I stayed home, the more I avoided going out. That's when I can feel the social anxiety kicking in. I didn't want to like my phone rang. Sometimes when I get receive a text from like one of my coworkers asking me like, "Oh, how come we don't see you at work anymore? How you doing?" Things like that. When my phone ring and it's a phone number that I know who's calling, but I get so nervous picking it up. Another example is um even when someone texts me, some reason I cannot reply back to a text when someone said, "How are you doing?" I can't even say, "Oh, I'm doing good. I'm the same." Some reason I can't even say anything. I can't even type anything. I can't even pick up the phone. Someone knocks on the door, I start getting nervous. Like my whole body starts shaking. My legs should start shaking. I close the door. I, if it's a family friend coming over, I lock the door. And I didn't understand why I was like that. Because before, after the shyness went away, I didn't have any problem talking in front of people. I can go to the store and talk really loud, and I didn't care if people look at me. But once I had social anxiety, once I started having panic attacks, and becoming housebound, that's when I started having social anxiety. I didn't want to leave the house. I think by me not wanting to leave the house, I didn't want to. I tried to avoid talking to people. Another example was when the mailman knocked on the door one day and say, someone has to sign this. I can't leave you out the door. And then I'm like, I get so nervous. And then my girlfriend said, oh, I'll sign it. And then I was like, okay. And then my hand was shaking so bad. I don't think the mailman even noticed, but I was so nervous. I was like, why can't I even, it took a lot of me just to get off my bed and open the door, but, and then another day, we had someone come to replace the satellite dish for us. And then when he was working in my room, I was in my daughter's room. I closed the door and I thought he was done. I came back in my room and he came in and asked me to check everything, is everything okay? I was like, why do? And then when he said, is everything okay? I thought I was shaking. I thought he noticed I was like nervous. I was hiding in the blanket, and this was maybe in the summer or something, spring or something. I don't remember. Towards the end of summer. And then he was like, when he said, "Oh, is everything okay?" I thought he meant, "Am I okay?" But he's like, "Oh, is everything okay on the TV?" And then I was like, like that. And then, I said, "Yeah, everything's good." And then my heart was pounding. I was like, it took a lot of me just to say, "Yes, so far everything's good," And then after a while, once I start leaving my house every day, that's when I noticed, the social anxiety slowly went away. You see me talking to random people. I'm going to the stores. I'm waiting in line. Sometimes I'm going in line, sometimes I talk to the people online. When I walk around my neighbors, just right now when I just got back home, I got to talk to some new neighbors. So I try to be the person that I used to be, talking to random people. I talk to strangers all the time. Sometimes I'll walk by someone, I'll just say hi, good morning, good night, whatever, good evening. And sometimes I'll just bump into somebody, I'll just start talking to that person. When I had social anxiety, sometimes it was hard for me to do a lot of this. If my cell phone ring, I didn't want to pick it up. If the house phone ring, I didn't want to pick it up. Someone knocks on the door, I didn't want to go out and answer. Someone comes over, a family friend, I didn't want to. I lock the door. Things like that. But I'm pretty much over my social anxiety. Like I mentioned, I never had social anxiety when I was young. I just had shyness. Shyness, like I mentioned, social anxiety and being shy is different. If you have social anxiety and someone says, "Oh, you're just shy," you know how it feels. You can get a panic attack by someone just looking at you funny. Sometimes if you have social anxiety but you're not really housebound, but you don't leave your house unless you have to, like going to school, going to work and stuff like that. But if someone looks at you funny, let's say you're taking the bus, right? And then the bus is, you're sitting down and then there's people just standing. You're going to start thinking those people are standing and looking at you. Then that can actually trigger you to have a panic attack. If you're at work, and you have meetings, like, meeting at work, and then people, let's say you got a new job and then people like introducing themselves to you, and then you might start having a hard time introducing yourself to somebody because of your social anxiety. You don't know why you can't talk to people without panicking. To me, it's like being nervous, but amplified by 10x. You know, there's like some people are nervous about something, but they can do it, and there are people so nervous that they can't do it. You know, things like that. So other than that, yeah, you know, every time I leave my house, the depression go away, the anxiety been going away. You know, there's moments I feel a panic attack coming, and what do I do? Nothing, and then the panic just goes, and my mind is like, whatever happened. You know, so um, that's what for me personally, that's a big deal because I didn't think I would ever get better. You know, I'm like I say, I'm not doing it with taking medication. I'm not doing it with. I'm not seeing the counselor. I'm not seeing a therapist. You know, sometimes I wish I did see a therapist at the beginning stages. Maybe, maybe it would have helped me sooner. But there's nothing wrong seeing a therapist. You know, but when you're housebound and then you have to see a therapist, it kind of makes it harder. And then once you pick up that social anxiety, it's kind of hard to talk about your feelings, you know. And then you're gonna think the counselor or the therapist or whatever you're talking to, the specialist, is asking you all these questions, and then you know they're trying to find out why you're the way you are, and then you're gonna start thinking, oh, this person is gonna write all these things down, and when I'm not looking, they're gonna start laughing at me. You know, that's what happens when you have social anxiety. You start thinking everyone is looking at you, everyone's talking about you, people are talking behind you, how people are looking at you funny. You can be walking and then someone walks behind you. You can think that person is saying, "Oh, look at the way that person is dressed. Look at that person. Look at that person. How they walk." Or someone's in front of you. You can think that person have eyes behind their back of their head. They can see what you're doing. You know, that's the difference between social anxiety and shyness. You know, shyness you can't really it can't really lead you into having a panic attack. You know, you're just shy. Social anxiety, you're just completely nervous and stuff. But you know, like I said, once you get over that fear of being surrounded by people, you know, then your brain is gonna like say, oh, what's so hard about this? You know it's not hard, but it's the way you're thinking, it makes it harder. You know, that's how I was when I started picking up the social anxiety. I was like, why is it so hard for me to talk to people? I used to do it all the time, you know. And then once I got back to doing it, that part of my brain remembers, hey, this is how you used to be, you know. And then that's how I got better. I start remembering the things that I could do before, and then my brain's like, you did it before, you can do it again. Anyways, that's pretty much it for today.